Welcome back to Commentators Corner. It is Thursday morning, the 28th of April. Tyler Reedy and Brendan Prizeman here with you to close out the month. It's been a couple weeks, Brendan, but we're back and got plenty to talk about here on this Thursday.
I mean, yeah, you could argue that right here as April starts to close and we start to get into May is one of the best months you'll get for sports until mid to late October. We've got the NFL draft starting today. We'll talk about that in a bit. We've got the MLB starting to heat up. Dodgers and Giants both looking really good, but we'll talk more about that later. NBA playoffs are going. First round is about halfway through right now. Most of the series have played 4 or 5 games. Prep soccer and baseball both winding down their seasons as they prepare for districts. We got a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it with prep soccer. They've been consistently dominant all year. They've been top 2 basically since the start of the year. They took the number 1 spot from Omaha South after a 4-0 victory a month ago exactly, March 28th, but then after another victory over Omaha South on the 9th of April. On the 11th, they lost to Papillion South, and then on the 13th, they lost to Bryan. Since then, though, they've seemed to have figured it out. They're on a 4-game winning streak right now. Their final game is against Elkhorn South today at 7, and they appear to have the number 2 spot in Class A for districts basically locked up.
Yep, they will play either Grand Island or Omaha Northwest. That's a 4 versus 5 seed matchup. Prep, as you said, the number 1 seed in the A2 district. And then also in that district, Lincoln Pius X and Elkhorn South. So 4 other teams that Junior J Soccer has not matched up with at this point this year, although Elkhorn South, they play today at 7 p.m. on the road in their final game of the regular season. And you look at the Junior Jays, got a big win against Omaha West Side, another top 5 team on Saturday. That was the Kicks for a Cure game down at Morrison Stadium at Creighton. 2-1 the final score in that one, and then a 3-1 win at Millard West on Tuesday. And Prep has not allowed more than 2 goals in any game this season. They've played 15 games, and not once have they let in 3. Just incredible disciplined defense being played by the Junior Jays should set them up really well for state.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the offense as well has shown that it can really get out and get going when it needs to. Simon Metcalf's got 7 goals on the year. Zamir Isica, Brady Bragg, Owen Glogowski, Max Matthews, all 4 of them juniors. 4 goals apiece for Matthews and Glogowski, 5 apiece for Bragg and Isica. And then Jack Johnson, a sophomore's got 3, as does Thomas Pasali. And then a whole bunch of seniors have also scored. John Burns, Nick Ostopovich, Will Quinn, Aiden Morey, George Loro. So the offense can come from anywhere. And then the goalkeeping has been really good as well. TJ Dervin's been holding things down. He actually got a yellow card against Westside on the 23rd. Josh Townley, the backup, had to come in, saved that penalty kick, which helped preserve a 2-1 victory for the Junior Jays. So this team is very talented, very skilled. They've already shown that they can hang with anyone in Class A and occasionally beat them pretty well. They beat Omaha South 4-0 in a game that wasn't even that competitive. So certainly a team to watch. Another team to watch, of course, is the Creighton Prep baseball team, which is currently 2nd in point standings in Class A as of yesterday at 4:30. The only team ahead of them is 22-5 Millard West, who they play next Monday at 6:30.
And possibly this weekend at the Millard South tournament.
Yeah. But they've been on some tears as well. They've had a couple of rough patches after coming back from the St. Louis tournament near the start of this month. They lost to Bellevue West and Millard South on consecutive days, but we could probably chalk that up to fatigue because since then they've lost just 3 games, and 2 of those were to out-of-state competition. If you ignore the Seattle Prep game, where, according to a lot of the guys on the team, they just committed a lot of errors and were not as focused defensively as they should have been, they beat Bennington 14-2 on the 22nd. They beat Seattle Prep 11-1 on the 23rd. And then Millard North on Tuesday, they beat 17-7. Then yesterday, they went to Lincoln to play Lincoln Southwest, beat them 15-0. So this is an offense that, as we've both talked about a lot, can really break a game wide open.
They have not won a game. Their last 9 wins have been by 6 runs or more. They have not played a close game in which they've won in almost 2 weeks now. You have to go back to the Papillion La Vista South game on April 15th in the Metro tournament where they had the walk-off single for the 8-7 win by Jack Thiele. They play Papio South again this weekend to start off the Millard South tournament, and then, as you said, Millard West on the road on Monday and Lincoln North Star on the road on Wednesday in a makeup game to close out the regular season. But yes, this offense is loaded. The middle of that order, it seems like at this point, somebody is getting 3 to 5 RBI every game. It's Elliot Peterson or Kobe Hatcher or Grant Summers. Parker Mooney's been a big force at the top of that order. Creighton Prep missed him after he was ejected and could not play in the Burt game. That's the one in-state game that the Junior Jays have lost since the Metro tournament, 11-5 last Tuesday. But aside from that and the 2 Rockhurst and Seattle Prep games, the Junior Jays have been on a tear since the second weekend of April.
I mean, the offense, as we mentioned, has been incredible. You mentioned those RBI guys. There's 4 guys currently in the Prep lineup hitting above 400, in Grant Hatcher, Grant Summers, Parker Mooney, Elliot Peterson. Peterson's hitting over 470. Parker's almost there as well. Peterson's got 40 hits, Mooney's got 37, so that hits race is going to be pretty interesting to see. But Sam Ryberg's hitting 392. He's also stolen, he's stolen a lot of bases. He's
up over
29.
20, yeah.
He's the next best guy on the team has 21 stolen bases. So the offense can hit from everywhere. You mentioned Kobe Hatcher, 38 RBIs. That leads the team. He's hitting 370. Jack Thiele, who had the walk-off single against Bell West, he's hitting 360. And then the pitching, 4 guys with 4 wins right now, in Ryan Bauer, Robert O'Malley, and Jamison Harris. And they've been pretty fun to watch as well. Ryan Bauer's currently got the most innings pitched on the team at 33.1. Then Robert O'Malley at 29.1. And then Thomas Lydon at 17.1. Harris at 17 exactly. O'Malley's only given up 19 hits in those 29 innings, 8 earned runs. He's faced 133 batters and struck out 37. So he's been having an incredible season. Bauer's been playing very well as well. 38 strikeouts for him. Lydon's got 24 strikeouts, and Harris has 30. So the pitching staff can get it done as well. You mentioned that basically every game, Prep's won by 6 since mid-April. You can't win a game by 6 with just offense, and the defense and the pitching has really stepped up as well.
Yeah, and Ryan Bauer had one of the most efficient outings you'll ever see yesterday in the 15-0 win at Lincoln Southwest. 5 innings, 3 hits, and 1 walk, and 0 earned runs, and he only threw 50 pitches. That's 10 pitches per inning. Ooh. Obviously, the game was shortened with Creighton Prep ahead by 10 or more after 5 innings, but Ryan Bauer's been consistent. Robert O'Malley has been what we've expected him to be as the lead dog in that rotation. Jack Everett has been solid as well. Junior Jays shaping up on both sides of the parking lot, soccer and baseball, to be a force come postseason time, and fortunately we will see the NSAA State Baseball Tournament played in Omaha rather than Lincoln this year.
Really?
Yep, plenty of opportunities at places like Tal Anderson Field, Omaha's facility for the Mavericks, and other places as well to see the Junior Jays try and take home that title in a season that's already been special with Coach Mooney's 500th win and the Metro tournament title.
And then the St. Louis tournament.
Yep.
Yeah.
Should see how they can make some noise. A lot of fun coming up. And
absolutely.
Speaking of which,
let's get to the NBA playoffs.
There you go.
I mean, that's a fantastic segue, Tyler. And the playoffs so far have been incredible. It's one of the better playoffs I can remember in a long time. It doesn't feel like there's a team I dislike, and it feels like every series has been incredible. I'll just go through all the series real quick, and then I'll get to a little more specifics on some of the things that I've been noticing since the playoffs started. So first, in the East, number 1 seeded Heat defeated the 8 seeded Atlanta Hawks 4-1 to move on to the second round. Philadelphia 76ers, the 4 seed, took a 3-0 lead on the Toronto Raptors, but Toronto has taken 2 straight games from them. Game 6 is tonight. If Philadelphia loses the next 2 games, they will be the first team in NBA playoffs history to blow a 3-0 lead, joining the 2004 Yankees as one of the biggest collapses in recent playoffs history. The Milwaukee Bucks, the defending champions, as the 3 seed, defeated the 6-seeded Chicago Bulls 4-1. Game 5 of that was last night. And then in one of the most surprising series of the first round for just how dominant it was, The number 2 seeded Boston Celtics defeated the number 7 seed Brooklyn Nets 4-0. I've got a lot to say about that, but we can wait on that. Meanwhile, in the West, the number 1 seeded Phoenix Suns are currently locked in a 3-2 series with the New Orleans Pelicans. Devin Booker out for the Suns currently, so it's all up to Chris Paul to help carry that team hopefully back to the finals. Game 6 is tonight on TNT. Another Game 6 tonight on TNT is the number 4 seed Dallas Mavericks versus the Utah Jazz. Dallas currently leads that series 3-2. Did not have Luka Doncic for the first 3 games, but took a 2-1 lead in those games. Doncic has returned. The Mavericks have split the last 2, but they looked dominant in Game 5. Last night, the 3-seeded Golden State Warriors defeated the Nuggets 4-1. And then in one of the most fun series of the first round, the Memphis Grizzlies hold a 3-2 lead over the Minnesota Timberwolves. So, Tyler, I'm going to let you go first. What do you think what are some things that you've noticed throughout the playoffs so far?
Well, first of all, I love that, like last year and like the bubble in Orlando 2 seasons ago in 2020, you just have no idea who's going to come out of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
You have teams like Milwaukee and Phoenix that have been there before and have had strong regular seasons, but are going to face some tough competition. Milwaukee and Boston, the second round is going to be a dogfight. You saw what the Celtics did to the Nets. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are obviously superstars, and the Bucks, yes, they have the experience from last year going to and winning the NBA Finals, but Chris Middleton is out now for the whole series in the second round. That's going to make a big, big difference in trying to contain the stars of the Celtics and keep that series competitive. You know Milwaukee will have it in them with Giannis and some of the other role players, but that's going to be a dogfight. Memphis and Minnesota, 2 of the most surprising teams of the season, as you said, have produced an electric series. Ja Morant had a game-winning layup in Game 5 to push the T-Wolves to the brink of elimination. That Game 6 is tomorrow at 8 p.m. in Minneapolis, but whoever comes out of it, especially if it's Memphis, if you get Golden State and Memphis going head-to-head in the other 2-3 matchup, that's another dogfight. You got Steph Curry and company going up against Ja Morant and company, and would have been 2 of the most electrifying, most exciting teams in basketball this season.
Or if the Timberwolves, you've got a guy like Patrick Beverley, who's probably going to be drawing in Curry's mouth.
And they're primed to make some noise as well.
Absolutely.
So we're gearing up to not only finish off this first round with some great matchups, could easily get a Game 7 in something like the Dallas-Utah series, or maybe even Philly-Toronto. We've seen them.
Philly-Toronto.
We've seen them go down to the wire before with that Kawhi Leonard shot in 2019. But what I know for sure is that the second round is going to be likely even more exciting than the first.
Yeah. So, a couple things here. First of all, I think Giannis has definitely sees the best player in the world crown right now, and I don't think he's going to give it away. His current playoff averages right now are 29 points, 13 rebounds, and 6 assists. That 6 assists is a near playoff career high. And you talked about Chris Middleton being out. He went down in Game 2 of the Bucks series with the Bulls when that was tied 1-1, and a lot of people said, oh my, the Bulls might be able to push this, but the Bucks have looked dominant in 3 straight games since then. So I wouldn't be too quick to say that the Celtics are going to win that series easily with them. But on the other hand, you've also got Jason Tatum, who has now entered my 5 players most likely to win an MVP award in the next couple of years. Against the Nets, 29.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, 7.3 assists per game, and really helped lock up Kevin Durant, which is something we haven't seen in almost a decade in the playoffs, which is incredible to think about. He's top 5 in points and assists throughout the playoffs right now, which is fantastic. So I think that's going to be a good series. I think you're going to like this bold prediction. Winner of Bucks Celtics is going to win the title.
That's very understandable. Yeah.
I do not think Phoenix has it anymore. I'm not sure how Booker's injury is looking. I've heard he might be back for Game 6. He might not, but going to already a Game 6 against a 36-win Pelicans team with more than likely Luka Doncic waiting in the next round, that's not great. And then you end up getting to the conference finals and you might have to face a healthy Warriors team where Steph Curry's starting to go on a tear again. That's That's tough. That's really tough. And you mentioned, like, not knowing who's going to win it. I actually went back and did a little bit of looking. You know when the last time that 4 different teams won the title in a 4-year span was?
A long time.
The 70s.
Yeah.
The 1970s. The closest we've came since then would be the 2004 to 2007 stretch in the NBA when the Pistons, Spurs, Heat, then Spurs again won it. But, I mean, the difference between now and then is that now the basketball is much more exciting. You've got guys like Luka Doncic, Nicole Yokic, Giannis just playing really well. I wouldn't count out the Heat yet. I feel pretty confident in saying that they're going to beat whoever comes out of that Philly-Toronto series, but I don't think they can beat either Milwaukee or Boston in the conference finals. I'd also like to give a shout-out to Nicole Yokic, who should probably win his 2nd consecutive MVP. He cannot be faulted for the Nuggets' 4-1 loss to the Warriors. 31 points, 13 rebounds, 5.8 assists, 1 block, 1.5 steals. All but the assist numbers are playoff career highs. So, no complaints from me on that. Jokic, it seems like he's been in the league for longer than he has been. He's only 27. He's only in his 5th year. So, well, no, not 5th year, excuse me. 5th playoffs. This is his 7th year. So it's his 8th year next year. Turns 28. 28 has more often than not been like the peak year for superstars. So we might still not have seen the best of Nikola Jokic, a guy who currently in the playoffs is 2nd in points, 2nd in rebounds, and top 20 in assists, basically. Or no, he's 13th in assists throughout the playoffs. So no complaints from that. But the NBA has been pretty fun. One thing that's also been pretty fun to start off is Major League Baseball, and this is more your field than mine.
Huh.
So I'll let you take over, but
I'll
get my input where I need to.
Yeah, we'll go back to the weekend for Major League Baseball. Saturday was a big day. Starting in Detroit, Miguel Cabrera got his 3,000th career hit after some controversy with the Yankees intentionally walking him on Thursday, but against the Rockies in a 13-0 win on Saturday, Miggy did it. One of the finest ambassadors of the game of baseball over the last 2 decades, and quite frankly this generation, and of course one of the best players as well. Had the Triple Crown year back in 2012, well over 500 home runs at this point as well. Picked up his 3,000th hit. Great to see for him, no doubt about it. Also on Saturday, the Bears beat the Steelers. Oh wait, that's the Cubs and the Pirates. 21-0 win for the Cubs over their NL Central foe, the Pittsburgh Pirates. Chicago's been a bit of a surprise team to start the year after they had the big fire sale at the deadline last July. They've dropped back a little bit down to 8-10. Yankees and Guardians had an eventful outcome on Saturday. Yankees trailed 4-3 going into the 9th inning. Game-tying double to left field by Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. Stephen Kwan, the rookie sensation in left field for the Guardians, went sprinting into the wall to try and make the catch. Could not do so, and as he crashed into the wall, he was injured, and some fans in the front row out in left field, some Yankee fans started heckling him, and that ticked off the other 2 Cleveland outfielders, Miles Straw, the center fielder, and Oscar Mercado, the right fielder. Straw ended up climbing the wall for a few seconds to get in somebody's face. There's video of it, and basically all he was saying was, hey, you want to come get me, or something like that. He was basically challenging the fan to something. And then the very next hitter, Gleyber Torres, with a man on second, doubles to right field off the wall, and Oscar Mercado, as he goes back to field it, gets a beer can thrown at him, then another beer can, and all of a sudden there's just objects raining down onto the warning track. A very bad look for Yankee fans.
Have Yankee fans had a good look, though?
No. Miles Straw called them the most classless fan base in not just baseball, but in the world.
Hey, be nice to Cowboys fans, man. Come on. Come on.
Yeah, that was not great.
Another not great thing was the Mets-Cardinals bench clearing brawl.
That's been a series.
The bullpens were flying in. I'm not sure what the bullpen pitchers think they're going to do there.
Did you see the guy who didn't even use the door? He just climbed
climbed
over the wall.
Like, okay, you might have to pitch later, dude. What are you doing? But that series has been very contentious. Started when Pete Alonso got hit in the head a couple of games ago. And I'm not defending the high and inside throw. But, it's always interesting to see baseball fights because the Mets and the Cardinals are both really good teams right now. Max Scherzer has put together a very quality season already. He's got 3 quality starts, 3 wins, second in the MLB in strikeouts right now with 33. So certainly been a very good pitcher. The Mets sit on top of the NL East at 14-6 with a plus 33 run differential right now, 3.5 games ahead of the Marlins, while the Cardinals have a plus 18 run differential, which is second in the NL Central. They're 10-7, a game back of the Brewers. The Cubs somehow have a plus 21 differential and are 8-10. Can you explain that one? Actually, that probably comes from the 21-0 game you were mentioning.
Yes.
Ignore that game. They've got a minus 1 run differential, which I suppose makes a little bit of sense. Not as bad as the Reds, who were 3-15 with a run differential of minus 47.
Yeah.
Good for worst in the entirety of MLB. 2 teams that are fighting for the best in MLB right now are the Giants and the Dodgers, both with 6 losses, but the Giants have played 1 more game, gotten 1 more win, so they're 13-6. Dodgers are 12-6. Both with plus 44 run differential. The Giants have scored 1 more run than the Dodgers and allowed 1 run more. And for a series that could very easily be the NLCS, it's lived up to the hype so far, I'd say. Certainly 2 teams filled to the brim with talent. The Dodgers did end up getting a fair amount of the Braves roster from, that World Series run they got last year. They got, who was it? Trey Turner, Freddie Freeman? Who'd they get?
Yeah, they got Turner, they got Freeman. They picked up Scherzer as well, but he wasn't from the Braves.
Yeah, but right now the Dodgers as a team hitting .244 with an OPS of .725, which is really good. The Giants have been really good as well. Wilmer Flores has been doing a good job. He's hitting .266 with 12 RBI. Jock Peterson, the former Dodger, has done a pretty good job hitting .353, got an OPS of over 1, which is incredible. Brandon Belt, Brandon Crawford have been really solid in that middle infield. And then the pitching, if I can find it, is over here.
Logan Webb's a stud. Yep.
Yeah. 24 innings, 22 hits, 17 strikeouts so far. 1.11 WHIP or WHIP, which I'm sure is something good.
Walks and hits per innings pitched.
So basically a base runner per inning, barring an error. Carlos Rodon has pitched 23, and he's been even better. 11 hits from him, 38 strikeouts. That's Cy Young quality right there. I know it's early in the year, but that is absolutely Cy Young quality. And as you mentioned, for the Dodgers, they did indeed pick up pitchers, but Clayton Kershaw still leads the team in wins right now with 3. He's pitched 17 innings, including what was a no-hitter, a perfect game through 7 at one point before he was pulled by Dave Roberts. 17 innings pitched, 10 hits, 23 strikeouts, .59 walks and hits per innings pitched. So, yikes. Walker Buehler has been good. He was pretty good in their World Series run a couple years ago. He's been good so far. 24 innings pitched, 20 hits, 21 strikeouts, 1.05 walks and hits. So right now in the NL, I think it's those 2 teams, and then there's a little bit of a gap. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Mets make a run, but it's also the Mets, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them not make a run.
I think the Mets are a little different this year, and it all starts and ends with Buck Showalter being at the helm, a guy who is very rarely, if at all, going to get outmanaged. He's one of the best baseball minds in the game, and he's got a ton of talent at his disposal now, too, with the acquisitions of Scherzer and Mark Canha and Starling Marte, and now Lindor is back to his former Cleveland Indians form. Yes, I said Indians because they were the Indians when he was there. But some of the other headlines from this week, Walker Buehler, who you just talked about with the Dodgers, finally pitched a complete game. We've been waiting for it. With the shortened spring training and managers wanting to ease their starting arms into the season, we've seen a lot of early hooks, including the Kershaw move against Minnesota 2 weeks ago with the perfect game. But
move.
Buehler finally pitched a complete game shutout against Arizona on Monday, and then Tuesday was an interesting day. Anthony Rizzo hit 3 home runs. Willie Adames had a 2-homer game in Pittsburgh, but Rizzo hit 3, 2 of which I think would have only been home runs in 4 or less of the 30 major league stadiums. He used the full extent of the short porch and now has 8 home runs on the year to lead not just the team, but Major League Baseball as a whole. The Twins had a crazy walk-off against the Tigers. The AL Central has been fumbling all over itself. Minnesota down 4-3, double to right field in the 9th inning, and everybody had to freeze up on the base pass.
It didn't even have to be a double. It was in the outfielder's glove, and he dropped it.
Yeah, Robbie Grossman was going back on it, couldn't make the play, and everybody moved up 90 feet. Trevor Larnach went to third. But then Miguel Sano went too far around first and pushed the runner on second towards third. So now they get Larnach in a rundown between third and home, and the Tigers catcher Eric Haas throws the ball into left field. 2-run score, and that's how the Tigers lose. They haven't been the only team going through it in that division. The White Sox just snapped an 8-game losing streak in which Tim Anderson, the superstar shortstop there, became, by a wide margin, the leading error man in Major League Baseball with 7 of them. White Sox have been horrid defensively. I think they already have over 20 errors on the season. They pitched 11 walks to the Royals, a team that does not walk very much at all, on Tuesday night. But Chicago did end the losing streak with a 7-3 win over Kansas City yesterday. And, as we look at the standings and see some of the more surprising things, the White Sox have certainly been one of them, starting the year at 7-10.
And yet they're still second in the division.
Yeah, the Angels, it seems like we have this narrative every year where you've got Ohtani and you've got Trout, and they start the year strong, and eventually it becomes, here we go again. The Angels are going to miss the playoffs with their superstars, but they are 12-7. They're leading the AL West. We'll see how long they can sustain it. Seattle's right behind them at 11-7, and then Houston 9-9.
I do want to talk about Seattle real quick, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So they haven't made the playoffs since the golden days of Ichiro Suzuki.
Mm-hmm.
That was 2001. I believe that's the longest active playoff drought in the 4 major American sports, but behind a couple of guys who have been with the team for a while now, they've done an incredible job at getting things going. Both of these guys were acquired in trades. J.P. Crawford, the shortstop, who was with the Phillies in 2017 and 2018 before coming to the Mariners in 2019. And then Ty France as well. He was a member of the Padres organization in 2019 and 2020, but has been with Seattle ever since. Both of those guys have been some of the best hitters in Major League Baseball right now. France is hitting .366 with 5 home runs, 21 RBIs. And then Crawford is hitting .349 with an on-base percentage of .455. He has walked 10 times already on the year. He's only struck out 5 times. So those 2 guys have been very solid for the Mariners. And then Robbie Ray has been a really good starting pitcher. Does allow a little more base runners than he'd like, but he does have 18 strikeouts. Logan Gilbert, who has 3 wins already on the year, has 22 strikeouts and an ERA of .4. So the Mariners, if this keeps up for another month or so, we may have to start seriously talking about how they could snap that playoff drought, because they've got a run differential of +21 right now. That's tied for the best in the AL with the Yankees. So it's certainly possible.
Well, I'd argue that it's more of a surprise if the Mariners don't make the playoffs than they do, because last year they took it down to the wire. You remember they had that memorable end of the season last weekend series against the Angels where they packed the stadium and had a couple really dramatic wins trying to duke out the Red Sox for that last wild card spot. Couldn't do it, but all they did over the offseason was improve. They got Robbie Ray, the reigning AL Cy Young from Toronto. They got Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez, 2 great power bats from both sides of the plate from the Cincinnati Reds. So, yes, they're fighting a tough division in Houston and the Angels and a Texas team that's improved but has struggled out of the gate. Seattle, especially with the expanded postseason format, should be able to sneak into this thing. I would be very surprised if they don't, but as it stands right now, Mets are the best team in baseball, a 14-6 record, a 700 win percentage. The NL West has been competitive as well. Colorado has thrown their hat into the ring a little bit to start the year. They're 10-8, 2.5 games back of the division-leading Giants. We'll see how long they can stick around. C.J. Cron has been on fire at the plate with 7 home runs, good for second in the major leagues. But yeah, Major League Baseball, it's only been 3 weeks. It's felt like it's been a lot more after the lockout postponed the first week of the season, but here we are. It's been exciting, it's been fun, and should only get better as we move into the summer and move into tonight with the NFL draft.
Yeah, it's been really interesting to watch the prospects be debated. We were talking about this at lunch yesterday, and everyone's in agreement that this is not a good draft for offensive skill positions. I mean, like looking at ESPN's best available right now, just overall, you've got to scroll all the way down to 6 before you get an offensive skill position in Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. You got to go all the way down to 21 to find a quarterback, Malik Willis of Liberty, Kenny Pickett right behind him at 22. Personally, I think that the best quarterback in the draft is probably going to be Malik Willis, although I would not be too shocked if Desmond Ridder ended up having the best career out of the quarterbacks in this draft. But there's no quarterbacks. There is a lot of great defense and line play. Aiden Hutchinson of Michigan is the presumptive number 1 pick to Jacksonville unless something really crazy happened. He finished, I believe, 3rd in the Heisman Trophy voting. Michigan's star defensive end. Let me see if I can find his stats real quick. It says 12 tackles. I have a feeling he had a little more than that. Oh, well. But Hutchinson is good. Kayvon Thibodeaux, the Oregon defensive end. Right now, ESPN's got him as the 7th best available prospect. I think he goes a little higher than that. I think he's talented enough to go in the top 5. Sauce Gardner of Cincinnati is going to go very high, as are Derek Stingley Jr. and Kyle Hamilton out of the 2 Brian Kelly schools, LSU and Notre Dame, respectively. I think those guys are both going to do well. But it's not as bad a draft for receivers as people are thinking. I think that because there's no, definite number 1 quarterback like a Trevor Lawrence or a Peyton Manning or an Andrew Luck, people are like, oh, this draft is so bad offensively. But it's not really that bad. Garrett Wilson's a really good receiver. Drake London's a good receiver. Jamison Williams, if he recovers from that torn ACL, has a chance to be the best receiver in this class. Chris Olave was really good at Ohio State for a long time. Jahan Dotson of Penn State is one of the most athletic receivers I've seen. Treylon Burks of Arkansas. You've got a lot of decent offensive players in this draft. They're just not going to be throwing the ball.
Yeah, quarterback is not what it was in the last 2 seasons with Burrow and Lawrence and some of the others that were taken high off the board, like even Trey Lance last season. But wide receivers, definitely pretty loaded. No Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson. It's not as top-heavy as it's been recently with guys that are going to potentially be Heisman candidates, but plenty of depth, there's no doubt about that, and there are needs for them. The Falcons, after the whole Calvin Ridley situation, are going to need a wide receiver. Eagles still need to shore up the position a little more, and even the Chiefs, after Tyreek Hill departed for Miami in a trade, and they had to bring in Juju Smith-Schuster and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. We'll see how KC plays it, balancing out the needs defensively and the need at wide receiver. But on defense, it's a very strong draft.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. The defensive back play is phenomenal between Kyle Hamilton, Stingley Jr., and Sauce Gardner at the corner position. Aiden Hutchinson and Trayvon Walker, who's been getting some noise about the number 1 overall pick, both at the defensive line. It's going to be an interesting draft. It's one of the most highly debated drafts I've seen in quite some time, and it'll be interesting to watch how it plays out tonight.
I will say I'm going to show you something about Malik Willis real quick that ESPN has.
47.7% chance to be a Pro Bowler?
So Pro Bowler says
that right?
95th percentile and above.
Ooh.
That's what it's saying Malik Willis is. I feel like there's a good chance that this draft is going to have a lot of steals because, like we've been saying, a lot of teams don't really have any idea what to do now that there's no, quarterback. But, I mean, a guy like Jordan Davis out of Georgia, one of the most freaky athletes I've seen in a long, long time. He could slide out of the top 10 to somebody like, let's see, what's the rounds look like? I mean, he could theoretically slide all the way to a team like Baltimore. Like, do we really want Baltimore to get another dominant defensive player? Your Chiefs, who are picking 29th and 30th. I mean, right now ESPN has, potentially a guy like Jahan Dotson of Penn State falling that far who could help replace Tyreek Hill. Maybe you want Tyler Lindenbaum, the center out of Iowa, or David Ajabo from Michigan. Like, there's a lot of real talent in this draft. It's a deep, deep draft, one of the deeper ones I've seen in a while. Heck, Kenneth Walker is barely cracking the top 50. So, I think it's going to be a fun draft.
Yep, and then moving on to the NHL to close out episode number 27. About to reach the playoffs, just a couple more days of the regular season, and the postseason's taking shape. In the Eastern Conference, Florida will be the number 1 overall seed. They will be playing the Washington Capitals in the first round. Toronto and Tampa Bay will be going head-to-head in a fun series. Tampa, back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. Toronto trying to finally get out of their own way in the first couple of rounds. They've had this narrative about choking in the playoffs for almost the whole last decade now. Carolina and Boston looks like they'll be going head-to-head, and then the Rangers and the Penguins. Then on to the Western Conference, Colorado and likely Nashville. Vegas has been pushed out of contention. Winnipeg is out of it as well. 2 teams that have been there frequently in the last few years. Minnesota and St. Louis, Edmonton and Los Angeles, and then Calgary, who's taken a big step forward this year, and Dallas, another frequent flyer in the postseason. And Austin Matthews has become the 40th 60-goal scorer in NHL history. There have been almost 8,000 players that have played in the league all time, and only 39 of them have scored 60 in a season, and Austin Matthews is now one of them with 60 goals, 46 assists, and 106 points. What a year for him. Mm-hmm. And then Leon Draisaitl has also hit 50. He has 55. Chris Kreider has 52 for the Rangers. And Alex Ovechkin, at this age, is still getting it done. He has 50 goals as well. Yeah, a star-studded season in the NHL for sure.
And you mentioned the Rangers real quick. Igor Shesterkin almost won the Triple Crown for goalies. Least goals allowed with 2.07. Best save percentage at .935. And he finished number 6 in wins with 33. Great season for him as well. And it will result in a playoff berth for the Rangers, who are sitting at 51-24-6 right now. So, great season for him. Great season for his offense as well, with a guy like Chris Kreider scoring over 50 goals, as you mentioned. Should be a decently fun playoff, so might have to watch some.
Yep, and a fun episode number 27 for us as we wrap it up. We'll see if we can be here next week. There's a lot going on academically, but we'll definitely try and get 1 or 2 more in before the school year comes to a close. But districts are on Tuesday for soccer. We'll have coverage of that Tuesday night, and then I believe the finals would be Thursday, either Wednesday or Thursday. We'll be on that as well. And then baseball Saturday the 7th. They'll be playing both games on the same day for that. And then we'll be into the tournaments, so here we go. It's that time of year.
It is. Also, a quick shout-out to golf and track as well for prep. Golf's been winning a lot of invites, as has track. Yep. Both of those teams well entrenched in the top 5 as we begin heading for state competition in those as well.
Yep. Track got the win at Bell West on Monday. Golf got the win at Beatrice on Monday as well. So that'll do it for episode number 27. I'd like to thank you for joining us here on this Thursday. Tyler Reedy and Brendan Prizeman saying so long, and